Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside, and so am I.
Hey everybody, my name is Dylan B. Dickerson White, Mr. Trans USA 2022. It's the first time I've gotten to do this outside, so I'm really excited. Pretty special day as things start warming up in the DC area. We're doing our interview with our Mr. Trans Florida. And I think this one's kind of interesting because I've known him for a while and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, but we're going to see how this part goes. I want to have him introduce himself to you guys, and then we'll just jump right into it. Hey, Noah.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. So obviously you heard what I'm going to force you to do. So go for it.
Everybody, I'm Noah. I'm your Mr. Trans Florida 2023. You may know me from my multiple social media platforms or as your local Packer dealer. Been around, been transitioning for over 12 years, lived in a lot of states. So chances are you or someone you know has met me.
Yeah, I mean, what is it up to now? Your follower count on through everything, is it almost 1 million now?
I think we just surpassed 1 million like a week ago. Yeah, it's insane. But there are, bridging a community gap. So I love it.
No, it's kind of amazing to see because from where, everything started, we talked about this in our very first conversation we had about this pageant, was that, when we were starting with our transitions and everything, that all we had was these scouring YouTube for these videos. So I think that just having you as one of those people that started from the beginning with that and then has kept going. So I wanted to ask one question about that. What was the point in your transition or your kind of career where you thought, you know what, this content creation thing, I'm just going to jump right into it and see where it takes me?
Well, that's kind of funny because I've always put out content regardless of whether or not anybody wanted to see it. I feel like the farther back you go into my social media journey, the more it's very journal-y, very diary-esque. Just, putting stuff and feelings out there that I didn't see anywhere else in the hopes that someone in the void would say, hey, I feel this way too. And through that long process, I found so many other people that said, hey, not only are you not alone, but we're not alone either. There's so many others of us that feel like this, and creating a community like that. And then of course, COVID hit. I'm already 7 years into my transition and not really thinking that I could make, something. I didn't really think that I had a platform to stand on, and downloaded TikTok. And from there, the game changed. I found out that I didn't even take off in the US immediately. I took off overseas. And from there, I was like, I guess I could be making content for people in other countries. Then I started getting questions about, can you include captions? Can you do this? Can you do that? So I've really found people from all walks of life who are in our community who feel very overlooked. And that's what made my social media career possible, is the fact that there was a want and a gap in this market for people who wanted and needed to be heard and seen. So we're no longer in the days of, trans people are to be seen, not heard. Now we're out, we're loud, we're proud, we're here.
And I think that's all sort of ties into this thing that's going on right now, because we see a lot of stuff about people wanting to ban TikTok, and there's lots of trans people on TikTok now, so that's really bad for people, and that's one reason. And I think that just people having more access to our content now, your content, everything out there, do you think that plays a part in all this pushback right now?
Absolutely. I think you and I, especially coming from the era of trans that we did, as well as I do, making those videos and putting them on YouTube, it was because we did not have that outlet. We had maybe one or two people whose journeys didn't necessarily align with ours. So we felt not necessarily alienated by watching those videos, but we felt like, am I not transitioning the right way? Why is my journey different? And in opening up those voices and letting it be known, I don't think that we're influencing people in a way. It's not in a groomer way, the right wing likes to make it seem. It's just that people are now being exposed to things they wouldn't normally be exposed to, just like you would do as you get older. You move out of your parents' house, you experience more of the world that maybe you weren't used to. The difference is that now we're bringing it into your own home. Now, the thing is that all of these apps, most of the time, the way that people find me is through the algorithm, which means that I'm not personally pushing my videos onto this page. I'm not telling your kid, hey, watch my videos. Your kid or you or someone you know and love is already looking at possibly queer related content. And so more of that content is being shown. More of that content being shown is making some people question more while it's angering some people, it just really depends where you fall on the spectrum of that one, I guess.
Yeah, you hit like a really good point there. It's like you have to be kind of looking for it already.
Yeah.
So nobody's like, I mean, I guess there are those out there paying like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to have their content, and that's not our group of people who's pushing.
No.
So.
No, that's one of the things that I appreciate, like with your journey, with my journey, and a lot of other people's journeys, is that we are very self-made in the fact that, the platforms don't really push our content as much as they would push other people's content. So for anybody who is out there and looking to get into it, you're wondering, why am I not getting good views? Why am I not getting followers and stuff like that? Do not take it personally. It's because, as you've just heard, other people are literally pushing back on the app in the efforts to hope that our stuff never even sees the light of day. So if you're getting 5 views and 10 likes, you're doing great. You're making a difference in somebody's life. All it takes is one of those viewers to make it a better day for them,
Yeah, and then that's another, like, this flows so well. I'm having such it's like being with somebody who's done this a little bit before, kind of, you think where I'm leading with this question, and it's kind of like why we're here. So a lot of people would say, you already have this amazing platform. You've reached so many people with, you've surpassed 1 million followers. So why the platform with Trans USA? Why jump into it? And don't say me.
Well, of course, Dylan Dickerson. No, I think it just comes from like humble beginnings. Like I'm at a point now where it's almost like, where do I take my career next? I could make a bunch of overplayed content. I could, say things that have already been said before, but what I'm always looking to do in my journey is be something that I always wish that I had when I was younger. And kind of it is back to you, here I am, I see this journey, I know a lot of the other formers personally, like Abs. Abs was a really great first Mr. Trans USA. He really showed America what it was like during a time of COVID, what it was like to be a national figure for the trans community. And that really inspired me and pushed me on this long journey to where I want to be that symbol of hope. And I want to take it to the next level. Like I want Mr. Trans USA to be like Mr. America, Miss America. I want people of every walk of life to understand that we have our own goals, and our community has just as many facets for opportunity and growth as every other community. And I think having a national title like this really opens the eyes of certain legislators and powers of authority that I would really like to capture their attention. I think it's a lot. I think it would be super impressive to be Mr. Trans USA here in Florida, and just everywhere that I go, wear my sash and rebuttal against Ron DeSantis if I can. It's, you need to go out and make the change where it needs to happen. And Florida, unfortunately, is one of those states where they are trying to take away the rights, not just from the youth, from people like me. I'm nearly 30 years old. They're trying to make it so that then nobody is respected and nobody is able to thrive. And that makes me want to work all the more harder to make sure Florida brings this home.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of the thing. You're right. Like, it's a different avenue for you. And you're at that point, I think you said, where what's next? And given what's happening right now in all these states, like, it can't just be always about fun, and the fun we have and like the cute little things we create. And I mean, there's some serious things we both created, of course.
Right.
But it's also just that, I had my platform being about being positive and not really focusing on the negative. And we've seen a big shift in that. And I've kind of had to take a big step. So the way you've talked about speaking to legislators and like really actually stepping into a different box to be able to do this now that you have your foot in the door, kind of brings me to this next part. So I think at this point, everybody knows who Ron DeSantis is. So that if you could literally take a 60-second message and give it to him right now, what would you say?
We're still people. My ability to work isn't contradicting my ability to live my life outside of work. I still have bills that I need to pay. I still have a journey and dreams to achieve. Just because it doesn't look like what you would want for you or your family doesn't mean that other people's families are not okay with that and don't want their family members to be happy and see all that their life has to offer,
I mean, I like the way you put that too. It's short and you didn't focus on, again, like an attack. This is what we want. This is it.
Yeah.
that's like where those key sound bites I might be able to like flip out of there, you know. But I mean, we talked about like a lot of serious kind of things, and like I just wanted to jump in, of course, to get to that why, you know, the pageant and everything. But kind of jumping back to like you as a person, because yes, this pageant is about you as a person. So as a content creator, I don't even know how you've made so many things. It's every day you're pushing out. Is there one thing, like little clip you've created that you think is just like the funniest or the best one you've done, or like?
Oh, absolutely. So TikTok really gave me an opportunity to interact with what I would call trolls on a more regular basis. Before, it was kind of like people could put their negative opinions out there, but it wasn't really in a way that I could respond to them. Like, you know, I was also responding behind a keyboard. And what I really loved about TikTok was it gave me the platform to take somebody's comment, pin it up, and then reply to it. So my favorite of all time definitely has to be this person that told me my DNA will always say female. And I just turned it around, like perhaps I was as dense as they were acting, clearly disregarding my gender. I acted like perhaps I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I said that I would be thrilled to always have famales as my dinner. So that probably has to be my favorite. Every time I post it, it goes super viral. Everybody gets a laugh out of that. And I have to admit that even though I made the joke, it still gets me a laugh. Every time I see female written down, I have to think famale. You know, it's a fun way to live life. You know, because I know that there are many points in my transition that like hearing something like that would have absolutely crumbled me. And I know that there are a lot of people that see that video that if they heard it personally and just seeing that would trigger them enough to maybe not want to continue their transition or to not be open about their transition with people that they've already opened up to, just because you're seeing that real world hate. But again, that's why I put those videos out there. You know, now you have that opportunity to say something like that. You can take it's just words, you know, it's not unless you apply them to you that it hurts you. So if it's just water off a duck's back, it's water off a duck's back. So that probably has to be my favorite clap back. Just taking it and giving it right back to them. I didn't fiddle around or anything. I just took the words they gave me and I said it right back to them. And sometimes way to beat them.
Yeah, and you have like this great outlook on being able to take something that can be so negative, because I mean, with the amount of followers you have, the amount of course, you know, the dogs, it's a wonderful thing. And the thing is, I keep saying to people that I'm going to cut this out, but all I can do is really just let it roll with it. There's a bee too.
Yeah. Jesus.
Being attacked by all sorts of creatures.
Yeah.
No, I think that one of the things is you have this ability, because, you know, I feel like a lot of people, if they were put in that position that you were, with all of these comments coming, like thousands, sometimes every day, of, you know, a lot of negative stuff going on, and you being able to kind of just take that and give people some hope that they can also just shake it off, water off a duck's back kind of thing. And I think, you know, that's me just kind of like saying I'm really proud of you being able to do that, but also trying to ask this question. Can you tell people a little bit more about why it's so important to find the humor in things when heavy things are going on?
Definitely. I would say that I have such a positive outlook on the hate that people I don't know throw my way, because I have dealt with so much hate from people that I do know coming my way. In that, I don't just mean like family members not supporting me through my transition. I mean, you know, as well as I do, there have been a few times in the community where things I have done the way that I wanted to transition, not being on T for the first few years of my transition and stuff like that. I've never really done things the same way as other people. Maybe it's my not wanting to be conventional, or it's just, you know, me just taking my own path. We don't really know. Whatever it is, I've never really done things the same way as other people. So my first immediate hate was from people inside the own community. I felt like not only was I not able to have family with the family I've been born with, but also these people who are supposed to love and accept you because they have no one else to love and accept them, are so easy to reject other people. And while I feel like we're our best advocates sometimes, I feel like we're also our greatest downfall, because we get caught up on trivial things like, you know, policing other people's transitions or being competitive with where someone else is in their journey instead of focusing on your own journey. So the way that I stay positive through all of it is to remember that this is all my own journey. What I do might not be right for somebody else. All I can do is put it out there and say, hey, this is what I've done. This is either worked, this is either not worked, and just, you know, roll with the punches. Now, somebody who's never met me, who's never even been through this journey, why would I let their opinion bother me? I will never meet them. I can block them and I'd never hear from them again. It doesn't make sense to sit and worry about something like that when in 30 minutes there'll be another one of them. And there's like, for every one troll that does comment, there's a billion that you don't ever hear from that think the same thing. So you just can't let that overwhelming mindset get you. You have to really think about your journey, and you have to be a little selfish sometimes. You have to be like, this is my journey. If I don't take care of what I need to take care of, it won't go any further. You know, if I let every negative comment keep me down, I'm never going to be at the highest I can be.
You know, I really wish I could like take that because and kind of try to apply with some of the younger folks, you know, I've met in my life, and you can say this too. It's like, I see a lot of people who spend a lot of time responding to these comments and responding. And I think that's another huge topic. And it's a topic that we've both talked about before. It's like knowing when to engage and how to engage and when just to stop.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe jumping off that conversation that we kind of just had, when is the best time to disengage from somebody who's showing their ignorance, let's say?
At the point that you start to get angry. I always believe that that's the time to walk away. If you can explain to somebody a multitude of ways, you can keep your calm about it, but at the point you're starting to get irritated, I would just walk away, because I know I'm personally not the best at keeping my cool when I'm angry. It's like I'll let slide comments out, or I'll say something that maybe wouldn't reflect on trans people in the best light. I could go off and tell somebody off all day long, you know, because they don't agree with how I live, and I would be just as bad as them. You know, I'd be making a fool of myself and making a poor representation of my community. Because when somebody does something like that to me and lets me know they don't agree with my lifestyle, you know, all I think is like, there's tons of straight people who maybe don't agree with this, but don't ever like put themselves out there like this. It's really pious of you and narcissistic to think that your view is the only one that matters in my world when I don't even know who you are. But to turn it around the other way, to let them get you so angered that now like there's something that you're thinking about, that's when it's time to walk away. That's not somebody who wants their mind to be changed. That's somebody who's looking for a bad rep to give the trans community. And it's almost like they bait us into it sometimes. I think one of the most famous examples of this is the GameStop, yes, I'm a ma'am situation. I think it was very, very sad how that whole situation went. I think that normal conversation that happens sometimes, I think it was the wrong one to be broadcasted for all of America to see, because it looked like a very angry woman. And what we don't see is like the 20 minutes before of her constantly being misgendered. And, you know, that was her responding her best in that moment. But that is what people want. They want us to be the animal, so then they can take that information and use it against us. They can take that footage and use it against us. So the best time to disengage is when you know, like, you know, the golden rule, if you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you, it's time to back off. You're not going to make your point. It's lost cause. Yeah, like what is that person's desired outcome, and is it going to align with yours? Because if it doesn't, no. And honestly, I think if I don't know how someone like that would feel, honestly, if I said in that moment, okay, I'm going to stop my transition and, you know, like I'll go get a dress and stuff like that. I don't think that they would respond any better. I think they'd probably be a little bit shocked and silent, because you've just told a stranger what to do with their life, and now you don't have the authority to tell them what to do after that. Like, then at that point, don't you realize how little you meant to that person? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, I think that's a really good piece of advice for some people out there who would, like, you know, when you're younger and you're first starting, you want to have that fight every time. You're like super geared up for it. But as you get older into this, like, you're just like, you find the things that keep your peace and how important they are. Yeah, and I've learned on a much larger scale, just because so many people do know me and they know the community that I'm from. I'm really held to a higher standard of how I act and how I behave. And I'm always conscious of that, especially when I do get into like, you know, like at Pride, if there is a discussion or something like that, or I'm met with somebody who has a lot of hostility for the community of like, oh, I've seen your videos online and I don't like what you're saying, you know, like my niece, my nephew, my so-and-so has seen your stuff and I don't like what you're doing to them. Yeah, it's very, I'm happy that they've found me, that they have an outlet to maybe explore some questions that they have. But again, I'm not personally pushing my stuff onto anybody in your family. So it's some questions that you need to ask yourself. And it's always an opportunity for other people to learn and grow. You know, I always think that judging somebody else reveals an unhealed part of ourselves. So if we can take that judgment and reflect it inwards and deal with the problem there, then, you know, you focus on yourself. You don't have time to worry about other people's problems. And I really wish that other people were like that, you know? Yeah. And I do feel like just kind of continuing, just like I like the back and forth that this is really going. Like, the thing that's going to make those people
really think and question is not you getting angry and upset because that's what they want. I think that's really going to change people's minds is this idea of is seeing trans people out there living their lives and being happy and that's why they don't want that content, a lot of them out there, us being successful and happy and just normal human beings. And I kind of, that's why I think that I and the system, Trans USA, have been really focusing on the idea of this trans excellence sort of thing, and what that really means for different people. So at this point in your life, for you, what does that mean for you?
For this point in my life, trans excellence means doing the best that I can for myself and my journey and making sure that I've created a good path for the generation after me. I certainly don't want to be somebody who uses all the resources I can while I have this platform and then leaves something for the generation after me. But I am so driven to make sure that there is a difference in Florida, whether I'm Mr. Trans USA or not, to make sure that the legislators here are held accountable and forced to see the people that they're taking the rights away from. I want them to look me in the eye and tell me that I need to go to a women's bathroom or that I need to stop taking my hormones because it would make them feel uncomfortable, when I've never spoken up and said, hey, the way you style your hair makes me feel uncomfortable. The way you run this state doesn't make me feel comfortable. I just kind of, go with it and pay my taxes, And so it would be nice to finally have some accountability from their end. I think for the most part down here, they really, really try to, it's easier for them to sweep us under the rug because the numbers are not in our favor down here. But since I've become Mr. Trans Florida, I'm telling you, I'm finding them everywhere. And we are going to be out here in numbers and we're not going to stop. We're going to be as visible as we can and show them, each and every person, that they're trying to dictate how they live their life and telling them that their version of happiness is wrong. So.
Again, soundbite cut, That's good. No, I mean, I think that you jumping into this now, especially, it means a lot to me, because Florida is not an easy state to be doing anything in right now for any part of the community, let alone being trans. And, you having that experience, just being able to have the water off the duck's back attitude, I think that's something that we can all see and a bunch of people have seen. So I think since, becoming Mr. Trans Florida, do you think anything has changed in terms of the way people reach out to you or what they've been asking?
Not necessarily, but I think that's just because I mostly always try to engage. If there's something I'm not really for showboating things that I don't believe in. Everything I do promote, you won't find a single paid promotion on my page. Everything I do is in collaboration with somebody because I believe in their products. I believe in their programs. I believe in what it is that they're putting out there. So I feel like perhaps I have, the brands that I've reached out to that I'd like to work with, it's all for the community, but it's also for the community after me. Again, it's not just going to be something that helps me with the pageant. It's going to be something that goes to serve the community for long after I've won or I've lost. No matter what the outcome is, there'll be more options to make a difference from people that we normally wouldn't get help from. So I think maybe, so I'll change my answer. Perhaps having the title, really does help a little bit. Maybe it helps them take a little bit more seriousness to see that I have the potential to make a national difference with, that I want to take stuff bigger and better and more expandable, acceptable for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I've asked about, day one of the reign, how it kind of shifts from time to time as you start doing things, as your state title comes and so there's so many different ways that that's conversation, and I literally map out different ways things work because it's kind of what I do. So I want to jump from that to this question because I haven't really asked this of anyone, but it's something that somebody who you've done drag competitions before, I believe the name was Chaz Brightwell.
Yes.
Yeah, it took me a while I had to remember, but it's a little different. And, we all have plans for reigns and, things that go on for drag pageants and stuff. But we've had this interview. We've talked about how, Trans USA is a little different. It's not a drag pageant. So what does day one of your reign, should you win, look like as Mr. Trans USA?
Oh, I don't know. Probably calling Ron DeSantis' office and seeing how soon I can get in there. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of connections. I don't know where I would want to go first. And just nationally making it known that it's about to be one heck of a year and Florida is going to be held accountable. I know that Florida might not seem like the catalyst for a lot of problems, but I think we have a governor who really is open-mouthed with a lot of his thoughts and opinions, and it sets a lot of other balls in motion. So day one of my reign looks like me showing Ron DeSantis what a real trans man looks like. You know, it's like I've said a few times, it's easy for them to don't exist when we're just behind a computer screen, or we're, you know, on a TV screen in front of them. We're just somebody's nephew or cousin. You know, it's not personal. Me and all the people that I have now showing up and being like, these are the rights you're trying to take away, and this is the group of people you're trying to take them away from. Seeing that we're not being violent, all we're asking for is happiness and the chance to be ourselves. I can't imagine what they can say back to that.
Yeah, it's this idea that I've had too, like this campaign. I think I've mentioned this before, to try to talk about. They say it to my face, or I'm just gonna go there and be like, "Hey, I'm a trans man. Go ahead, come up to me, say whatever you want. Go ahead, invite them."
I really love for them. I mean, like, are you gonna stop me from going into the women's room? Would you really feel comfortable with that? Like,
yeah, it's a lot of that. You know, keyboard warrior kind of stuff, and again, the people that, you know, the constituents that these people, like you said, represent, they're the ones that are the ones hiding most of the time. And I like that answer of what to do on day one. Mine was I literally just like, I'm going to take a day a week just to catch up on sleep and figure out where I need to go, like if I'm at 100%, because I couldn't plan like at 20%, so I needed like a nap. Mine was not an impressive answer in any way.
Maybe I'll make it Trans Day at Disneyland, so I can just say I'm going to Disneyland.
Right, this is both of those things. I see this little. So I have 3 dogs, and they are very, very unhappy that it's nice out, and they're not out here with me. So I wanted to kind of jump into that. I saw you have a dog as well.
Yes, I do.
What kind of dog?
I have a mini schnauzer.
Cute little thing. So obviously we both are animal lovers, all of that. And I asked this question to kind of lighten the mood for a lot of people. So and again, no dogs, cats in this answer. If you could have any sort of exotic animal as a pet, and I mean, it's Florida, so it's not too far off, I'm sure, for some of these things. But what would it be?
Easy to answer, a sloth. I've had multiple experiences and sloth encounters, and they're really, really adorable. I like to think of them as like a cross between dogs and humans, because they have the facial expressions and almost emotions of humans, but like with the ability to express it of dogs, just like the way that they look at you, the way that they reach for food from you and stuff like that. It's very, you know, and I just like their attitude of, you know, not being in a rush for things. That's probably why I'm so drawn to them. My other, like my spirit animal is the turtle, and that's just so symbolic of who I am, always wanting things so quickly, but having to learn patience constantly. And so I feel like the sloth also mirrors that. Lord knows I already have enough problems waiting for my dog to go to the bathroom for 10 minutes. I can't imagine waiting all day for a sloth to go.
That's just, yeah. No, dogs, first of all, yes, I want to see this with you and a sloth. That's like the next promo I'm imagining come out here. It's just like you holding a sloth. It's
right.
Like, instead of the politicians like kissing babies, you're just with a sloth over there, you know.
Oh, that's how I spent my last birthday, at the sloth
Really?
account.
That's so cool. I want to do the otter swimming thing. And like, I think it's in Georgia somewhere. There's like a thing that you go swim with otters. Could you please stop it? She's a Yorkie Pomeranian mix, and she's clearly unhappy. I'll just cut this little.
It's the Pomeranian. My Pomeranian does not stop barking for anything other than me telling them to stop barking, and then they bark back.
Yeah, they're like, oh wait, more, right? More.
Yeah. Did you say more barks?
Yeah, that's what you want, right? Would you stop, you little powder puff?
Oh.
See? she's not gonna. There's another dog back that way. That's why she's like.
And I was like, she was saying some stuff to you about calling the other one a powder puff. She didn't like that.
No. Well, we got the white one, the puffy white one, the skinny black one, and the old Yorkie.
I'm sure the old Yorkie is the ruler of the household.
Yeah, and she's laying somewhere asleep. She's like, whatever. Does not care.
It's like an old Latino dad. As long as you don't disturb them, they're fine. You know, once they're up and about, then there'll be hell for everybody to pay.
Yeah, now that I'm out of my chair, we have some things
Yeah,
to talk.
is that mentality.
All right. So after I cut out this lovely little segment there of doggy barking, so where am I going to go here? Oh yeah. So I have to ask. You have a lot of projects going on right now. You're doing really well with like selling Packers, and a lot of just I've seen you constantly have helping people out. Just fundraising for different causes and everything. But if I specifically gave you like $10,000 to start a new project, anything you wanted, what would you do with it?
Oh no, I'm gonna try not to get emotional with this. I would probably start something for people in my hometown with scleroderma. I feel like I come from a very, very poor hometown, and my mother is not wealthy, so she's not taken seriously in her medical requests. So she has a rare disease. It's called scleroderma. It's the tightening of her tissues in her skin. I've watched since my mom was little her deteriorate over the years. And in my mind, I will always remember the mom that she was when I was little, but to see how much she struggled with just getting proper health care and watching not medical people tell her that her life doesn't matter, but just because she doesn't have the money of someone else to have the resources that she'd need. Very sad. I would use it to start something for the future generation, so people don't have to watch their mom crumble like I did. It's a disease that there's not enough attention and awareness for, and out of all the stuff I do raise money for, that's the project that always hits me the hardest. I donate anonymously to the foundation multiple times a year in my mother's name, just because I want it to make a difference. I want that karma to come back to her and to other people who have scleroderma. So that's what I would do.
I really appreciate you actually sharing that with me, because I didn't really know the extent of what was going on with that, but I know it takes kind of a lot with everything even going on for you personally to share that. So thanks.
Yeah. No, my mom's my hero. And, there was a long time where her and I didn't speak. I was really worried that I would never have my best friend back. But I always tell people, if my mom can overcome the whole mentality of my hometown and everybody else who still doesn't accept me and love and experience and enjoy trans people, anybody can. Sometimes it is better to just cut family off and walk away, but sometimes there is hope. And knowing that line is very tricky. I don't have any specific answers on when to walk away from it, but all I can say is that if you feel it in your heart out to them, don't pass that opportunity up. And I'm glad I didn't waste time. I'm glad I have time with my mom now.
And I think that's something that's kind of something I've realized. We had a similar sort of experience with, for a while, not really talking to our families and like kind of opening that back up. So I think, like you said, there's not really a clear answer on that with how you want to pursue a relationship, but it's okay for it to change too. You may cut them off for a little bit, and then maybe that's what makes them kind of see. And then both parties kind of realizing, we're missing out on so much over what,
Yeah. I think when I was young and I started my transition, I very much had the mindset of, I'm just changing my outsides. I don't understand, why it's so hard for them. I'm still me. To me, it wasn't, it was something that was brewing beneath the surface for a long time. But I think for a lot of people in their situations, it wasn't, although it was obvious to us, it wasn't obvious to the other people around them, because those people have their own ideas of what you're going to grow up to be. So they overlook a lot of things that you would see as obvious. They would see as, just under the table, just a little flip on the scale. And so when you do come out, it's tough, because not only is your mindset of you changing and how you're going to move forward, but so is the other person. And sometimes we do need to give them time and space to process that, just as you would in the death of someone. There's different ways to grieve. Grieving doesn't always mean somebody dying. It could mean the loss of dreams that you had for your child. The same as if, your child was in a terrible accident and wasn't able to play sports, and sports were their life after. You would have some sort of grief with that, because it's a life you've planned for your child that's never going to be able to come to fruition. So sometimes it's a little bit of give and take. When I was younger, I was very, you need to accept me, you need to accept me now. But through that space, I was able to give my mom and other family members time to heal and adjust. And, although some of them it didn't take, my mom, it really took it. She really understood from that distance exactly what it was that I was wanting to do. She understood that at all costs, I was going to be Noah, even if it meant that I lost everybody who said they loved me, because in my mind, that wasn't real love. If you don't love me at all points of life, then that's not unconditional love. That's conditional.
That is.
So, sometimes you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them and when to walk away.
Yeah. And when, and only being your decision to open that door again, if ever. And I think that, there's relationships in your life where that's going to work and where it's not. And I think, that's really the hardest part. People ask, maybe getting into that kind of a little more, people ask about the hardest part of transition. It's not any of the physical things. And I mean, could you maybe speak more on what that really is in like a short and sweet kind of way for people? What's that hardest part?
The hardest part of transitioning is asking yourself those questions that nobody else ever asks themselves. The normal person on a regular walk of life kind of has their life laid out for them. You go to school, you get a job, you raise a family. That's pretty much, it's all been laid out. It's all been done before. But as somebody who's trans, somebody who's non-binary, somebody who's gender non-conforming, questioning, going through any opposite walk of life, you're asking yourself a lot more questions that other people already knew the answers to because they didn't have to ask those questions. So the hardest part of transitioning, I think, is honestly finding out who you really are and watching that evolve over the years as you learn more questions to ask. I just think that in the beginning, I thought I had myself all figured out. And over time, that's been the hardest, is like the changes I have to make within myself, things that I felt a certain way about that now I feel completely different about, and atoning to that and atoning to everything I said and felt before I got to that point.
Yeah, and I mean that's also like, when you look at it that way, like a part of growing from your early 20s into your early 30s, like, oh, all that dumb shit I did.
Yeah, but another big thing is accountability. Like I certainly have not been a perfect person. I've talked badly about other people. I've broken laws before. Like we've all done something along the lines of imperfection. But the big thing is to not let it get you so down that you feel like you don't deserve the same happiness as everybody else. Everybody makes mistakes. It's how you pick up and recover from those mistakes. Again, personal problems that I've had, like I really was at a point where I was insecure in my transition. I really, really wanted top surgery. And it's almost like everybody else, whether they had top surgery or not, was a competitor on the field. Like them getting top surgery meant that I couldn't have top surgery, or they were stealing my journey. So in my past, I've said a lot of not pretty things about other people who I would still consider my really good friends. And they know the things I've said about them from a place of jealousy. So I think that's also kind of the other biggest part of the hardest part of this journey, is not comparing yourself to other people. If you cannot do that, if you can just compare yourself to you and where you want to be, in the future from now, whether that's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, you'll be a lot better off than looking, at my page and saying, oh, I want to be him, because I don't even know who I am most of the time. It's changing answers. So if you're saying you want to be me, you're almost to where I am, like none of us really that answer. So
no, we all and I think that's kind of like something we've all tried to do too. Like you're putting this point of not comparing yourself to other people, like, and one of the big changes that happened with the pageant itself, the scores aren't comparative anymore, because that's not what we're looking for. We're putting basically just a point-based system in for every person to be judged on what they're trying to do. And I think that setting the tone for, like, we're literally not comparing you to anyone else but the person you want to be up there. And so, like, bringing that all back around and taking our life experience as trans people to reshape the contest in a way that kind of like fits, for everybody.
Right.
And I think that, this is something that I kind of wanted to stress for everybody, was that it's you're competing with people and not against them.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think that, getting all back into that, wrapping up, I kind of had some questions about maybe I know the answer to this based on what I've seen. What is the category you are most excited about competing in?
Ooh. See, now I don't know if I have an answer for that, because I feel like I'm equally excited for the whole pageant. Like I'm as excited for the competition part as I am to meet everybody and meet other people in the community who know me, and just kind of see, like, what stuff I've posted online has made them feel about the sense of brotherhood that we have, just even though I didn't even know about them until a little bit ago. So I'm always excited to meet people who follow me on the internet. So I'm excited for the camaraderie of the pageant more so than I think the actual competition itself. knowing what you want to do and how you want to present that can sometimes be easy, but it's the unknown that I find joy in, the moments that happen backstage and the fun banter that I can't wait for.
Oh my God. And I was using that as a question to like lead into that question, but you got there first. So the question I usually end with is like, what, we always talk about the projects you want to do, but what do you want to take out of nationals? And I think you pretty much answered that already. So we're just going to kind of like go to the next thing, because you're right. Like, that for me as a competitive person, to have that experience, to not care really so much about points and being on state and that, and to just have fun with everybody and the pool parties and hot and everything. I was just at that point where I was ready to come back year after year, and I didn't care what happened.
Right.
Use it as like a retreat and like an escape, for this group of us now being like 40 plus. I think that, just giving you all that experience and you getting to have that, I mean, it's going to be pretty amazing.
It's going to be awesome. Very wholesome.
Yeah. And I mean, what happens in Milwaukee stays in Milwaukee.
Right, exactly. I'm from the South, so what happens up north stays up north. Yeah.
So I think that we did get a little bit over the time, and I'm okay with that. It usually happens, when we get into our conversations. And I know you did record a kind of statement. We're going to play that. But is there anything else you kind of wanted to wrap up with and leave people with right now, especially as we like gear up for Pride, or especially right now?
Be vigilant, but be safe. Be proud of who you are, but remember that not everybody wants to see us to live all the way to that happiness. That's my thing. I've always encouraged people to be you, but only be you if it's safe. Your safety is more important than everybody else. That means whether you have to wait to come out to somebody, whether you can only be you a little bit at home or behind closed doors. We'd rather you do it safely than not have the opportunity to do it at all in the future.
Yeah, you want to put that dish in your mouth.
Everybody, I am Noah Boutilier. I am your reigning Mr. Trans Florida 2023, hailing from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm transitioning for a little over 10 years in multiple parts of the country before deciding to call Florida my home. But unfortunately, I now live in a state that is actively trying to take away the rights from trans and gender nonconforming youths, which is why my charity of choice is Transcending Adolescence, a Florida-based and trans-founded charity, and its focus is to help empower the future generation of our community. I look forward to seeing everybody at Nationals and bringing as much sun possible from the Sunshine State to show everybody that they could use a little bit of brightness and warm energy.
Yeah, you want to put that dish in your mouth.